The greatest want of the world is the want of men. Men who will not be bought or sold. Men who in their inmost souls are true and honest. Men who do not fear to call sin by its right name. Men whose conscience is as true to duty as the needle to the pole. Men who will stand for the right though the heavens fall. This is a quote that changed the course of my life. I first came to Heritage Academy my junior year, but I left second semester. Even at the time, I knew it wasn't God's plan for me to leave, but because I wanted to leave, I made myself believe that it was God's will. I didn't tell anyone I was leaving, except for my roommate and one or two friends. Once I was home, I felt glad to be away from the drama that was rampant that year at school, but I didn't feel the peace that comes from following God's will. Once back at home, I began to fall back into the routine of home life and old habits that I had started to overcome while being at school. My life again fell into the repetitive, meaningless cycle that home life had. Soon, God was nearly crowded out, and devotions became just a duty that I had to perform every day, rather than a special time to spend with God. Though I had grown up in an Adventist home, going to Sabbath school every week, I never really grew up with a personal relationship with God. We went to a big church, and it didn't really have a spiritual atmosphere. It wasn't until 2010, when we moved from that church and started looking for a new church, that my relationship with God started to grow. We attended an evangelistic series that was being held at our new church, and I felt almost as if I were a non-Adventist. Almost everything I was hearing in those meetings was completely new to me. There I was, a sixth-generation Adventist, learning for the first time who the Antichrist was, what the mark of the beast was, what the investigative judgment was all about, and everything else that's covered in evangelistic series. In the next few years, my devotional life and Christian experience was like a yo-yo, always up and down and forever changing. In 2013, I went to ASI Youth for Jesus, and that helped me to realize my lack of dependence on God and how far I had strayed from Him since I was baptized prematurely at the age of 12. I realized that I believed in the God of my church or the God of my parents, but I didn't see Him as my personal friend. I realized for the first time that we have a personal God. Everything is for the individual person. Not all in a group as a church, nation, or entire world, but for each person at an individual level. This led to my decision for rebaptism, and my life truly became more dedicated to God. However, throughout the year, my spiritual high declined, and I was nearing again the point I was at before Youth for Jesus. The summer of 2014 brought me to Youth for Jesus again, and this experience was completely unlike my previous experience. This year, I learned of the incredible love of God and how it's directed at me and for me. It is something that He gave specially to each one of us. It's not just an overall love of everyone, but it's also a personal love. When I finally fully grasped this for the first time, I realized how truly amazing it is and how it's my duty to share it with others. By the close of the program at the National ASI Convention, I had decided to finish my senior year homeschooling in one semester, attend evangelism school the next semester, and start evangelistic efforts in my home church. I had it all planned out. It would be great, right? But God's plans are seldom the same as ours, and God had a surprising plan for me. At the ASI convention, I began to contemplate returning to Heritage, but I disregarded the thought and moved on. However, a series of events throughout the weekend made me think enough about it that I started half-heartedly praying about returning, but I didn't think it was what God wanted. During one of the meetings at ASI, a friend texted me the quote from Education that I read at the beginning, and I was overwhelmingly impressed with the thought, you have to go back to Heritage. I sat there and tried to let it sink in. Okay, I was going back to Heritage. I could get used to that. But I had already been away from home for a month, and I had all these plans for when I got home. It must have just been some random idea. I didn't want to leave home again that soon. Suddenly, Matthew 10:37 was impressed on my mind. He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. That sealed it. I had to go back to Heritage. School started in a week. How would we ever be able to afford it and get transportation and everything else worked out? I got home from ASI on Sunday night, and by Monday night, everything was worked out, and I was going back to Heritage. Why did God want me to come back to Heritage Academy this year? I still don't know a specific answer, but throughout this year, I have learned so much. I have been blessed with so many opportunities, from working to help the community during an ice storm to co-teaching 2 weeks of prayer at local church schools. I've gotten to make friendships that I expect will last for eternity, and I have learned so much about my walk with God. Through Bible class and various speakers that came throughout the year, I realized how close the final events are to happening and how important it is to start living that way. This led me to question my decision to go into nursing. How could I spend years in college and end up doing something I wasn't super excited about when people were dying from the lack of knowing a Savior who gave everything for them? How could I continue with this so-called Adventist version of the American dream when people all around me live in depression and confusion because they feel that they have no value, but yet I could share with them the key to realizing their incredible, unbounded value? This led to my decision to attend Arise in Jasper, Oregon. Instead of learning how to correctly administer drugs and bind up topical wounds, I will be learning how to direct people to the one who heals broken hearts and who binds up their wounds. My journey has taught me that this, sharing God's love and joy with others, is the ultimate purpose in life, and one that cannot be rivaled by anything else. It is not only our purpose, but our solemn duty to do this. How can we not share the incredible love and pure joy that is found in what Jesus has done for us? Romans 5:6-8 says, "For when we are yet without strength, in due time Christ died for the ungodly. For scarcely for a righteous man will one die, yet peradventure for a good man some would even dare to die. But God commendeth his love for us in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us." With the realization of this incredible love, we will want to share it with others. I like the way that Ellen White sums it up best. She says, "Live in the sunshine of Christ's love. Then your influence will bless the world."